Hi, everybody. I am Jen Baker, and I'm the district behaviorist for Benicia Unified School District. And this is our first edition of Ask Me Anything, where parents in Benicia email me anything related to problematic behavior or difficulty during home routines or distance learning, and I do my best to answer. So here's our first one. All righty. So, our first question: how can I help guide and motivate my child to improve the quality of her work? Since most of her work is submitted online, her actual writing continues to decline. Additionally, she takes every shortcut and only does the minimum of what's expected. She isn't particularly focused and often does other things while working online. So, the font in white is where I'm going to start, which is guiding and motivating to improve work quality, and what we do about taking shortcuts and only doing the minimum of what's expected. So, the behavior change mantra, whenever we're talking about something that our kids are doing that we want them to stop, or something they're not doing that we want them to start, our mantra is to be very clear and decide what we want. We then teach what we want, and then we make sure to acknowledge and reinforce what we want. So let's start with deciding what we want. Any parents that have looked at any of my other videos know one of the first things that I always suggest is you start with clarifying expectations in black and white in writing. You pick one or two areas to work on at a time. There's something called an expectation matrix where we choose problematic routines, and then we define exactly what it is that we're looking for during that routine. So, for example, if there's problems during Zoom lessons, being distracted or multitasking or doing the minimum amount of work, we actually create a matrix that talks about what we do expect to see during online learning. For example, trying your best, completing everything that's assigned, asking for help if you need it, staying only in the Zoom classroom instead of on other websites. Whatever it is that's happening, we clarify what it is that we want to see. So the next thing is we go into teaching what we want. So creating the expectations matrix together is a great place to start. But then we need to refer to that matrix and actually talk about it on a regular basis. We can post it as a point of reference. There's a lot of other ways online to do lessons or activities. If you need ideas about how to talk about what you're working on, or activities or fun ways to work on it. So, just a simple example, I found something on Michael Phelps, the swimmer. He has this foundation, the Michael Phelps Foundation. And I found actually a teacher's lesson plan. And like an activity about how it talks about how trying helped him, and it talks about the importance of trying your best, and there's a little worksheet. So I have a screenshot here. It is on our parent webpage. Of course, it's under teaching self-control and trying your best, but that's something that I found very quickly. The point is we can't just put it in writing or put it up on the wall and think that it's magically just going to start to happen. We need to spend time revisiting that when things go well, and revisiting it when things don't go well. We in general want to keep discussions short and positive, but the nice part about prioritizing, it gives everybody a framework and an agreement and a common language to talk about what we're really working on and what we're prioritizing. So the final step, so we've decided what we want, we created a matrix, we've taught what we want, we've talked about the matrix, we've created it together, we've done activities or games to talk about it. The final step is to reinforce what you want. So the big picture is to ask questions like, what's in it for your kid to try their best, to do something hard, to do something they don't want to do. Especially when we're in this weird situation of you have to do school stuff while you're at home. Like, it's a very confusing situation, even after the year almost that we've been home. So, especially during online learning, which really lacks a lot of the engagement of in person instruction, teachers are doing their best, but teaching online is not the same as being face to face. And you don't have the social pressure, to do the right thing because you're not actually like face to face with people. You don't have the engagement and your friends around you. So, we might need to add a little something to really motivate our kids to do their best in a situation which isn't the best for them. So, one way to do it is behavior specific praise and acknowledgement. Like, again, we've set our priorities, so we need to catch them being good. When they get it right, I love how you stuck with this until you finished. You really tried your best on this. Or I checked in a couple times today, and both times you were engaged in the lesson and doing what you were supposed to do. I'm so proud of you. Okay. So, behavior specific praise and acknowledgement is enough for some. So, I'm not saying bribe your kids and that you have to give them money and all this fancy toys and things like that. I'm just saying we've got to put some attention to it. And when it comes to fancy things or toys or other privileges, um, acknowledgement and attention is enough for some kids, but some kids may need a little more to get over the hump. So if you said something like, "Well, I've tried these things and reinforcement doesn't work with my child," um, by definition, positive reinforcement does work if we do it properly and if we're using something that actually our child finds reinforcing. Common problems or pitfalls are we think we have a good idea for something they want to work for, but they're not interested in it. Non-contingency, if we say, "Hey, you're going to get iPad time," but they get iPad regardless in the evening. Um, if what we're offering isn't immediate enough or big enough, the way I like to look at it is like, is what we're offering, like if it's too delayed or not enough, um, it's going to be too easy for them to just choose to do what's immediately reinforcing, which is to play around online or to tune out of class. Um, so these are just some of the common pitfalls. Again, there's a lot of resources on how to do reinforcement effectively on the parent webpage, but I will say that if you have a child that won't attend to their work or do things because they're lethargic or depressed, or they won't come out of their room, or they don't seem to care about things, if they're isolated and withdrawn, please take that seriously and seek professional help. That is not a time for a reinforcement system. That's a time to seek professional help if you think that it's more related to depression. Um, so here are some additional tips for using incentives effectively. Not just asking our kids what they want to work for, watch. What do they choose to do during their free time? If they watch TV or play on the computer or play video games or text their friends or play on their phone or go to the park or ride their bike, take an inventory of what they're already enjoying and make a list of that. There's also some more ideas on the parent webpage about how to do this, but the idea is to make an inventory of what they actually spend their time doing. And then what we do is we make those things contingent on meeting the expectations we laid out in our behavior matrix. Okay, so for example, attending all your Zoom lessons, completing work by a certain amount of time each day, having your materials ready to go and being on time for online learning, trying your best and checking over your work. These are all things that we could reinforce. Um, and it could be, the contingencies can be simple, such as verbally saying, "Hey, remember, if you want time on your phone tonight, you need to do A, B, and C from what we agreed to." It could be a little more formalized if you want to do a behavior contract or some kind of like an incentive system where they get check marks or stars on the calendar to cash in for certain items. Again, there's a lot of different ways to do this. It can be informal to formal. If you want more ideas, check out the parent webpage. So the second part of this is, since most of her work is submitted online, her actual writing continues to decline. So we are talking about handwriting. So what do we do about handwriting? Two words: practice and fun. Okay, so if she's not getting the opportunity to practice handwriting during Zoom lessons, we need to find other times and other ways to keep those motor skills developing. What you don't use, you will lose. Okay. So practice again, more things on the parent webpage. I have an article about how to motivate kids to practice. It talks about deliberate practice, like not just biding your time, but actually how to make practice effective and how to make it a priority. Making it fun. This was someone named Julie Kirkwood from Creekside Learning. She had all these fantastic recommendations about how to use the mechanics of handwriting without making it seem like work. So using a writing app that you could use a stylus with, because that keeps the pencil grip strong. Doing worksheets or activities in a salt tray, like a bunch of salt in a tray. And she said this is really great for kids that get frustrated when it's not like perfect, because they can practice with their finger. You see this kid's using like a candy cane. And then if they don't like what they did, they can just erase it and try it again. Window crayons on a glass window, or they talked about doing sidewalk chalk. And they said if you have like a brick patio or a deck, you can actually use the lines as like writing lines, which I thought was a cool idea. Varying the materials, cornmeal, flour, sand on a cookie sheet. You can use your fingers, you can use an unsharpened pencil, you can use a chopstick. I don't know, you could use a Barbie leg, whatever. Just vary the materials to keep it fun. Bathtub paints in a bath or shower. Obviously, some of these ideas are for younger kids. We'll get to older kids in a minute. Writing on an easel to help build muscles and core strength. Dipping Q-tips in paint and writing on paper. These are all ways to keep those motor skills fresh. For older kids, there were some recommendations about using Copywork instead of handwriting worksheets or workbooks, which can kind of get a little boring, particularly if you're older. So she talked about copying passages from something that's highly preferred, quotes from a movie, from your favorite book, or something like that. Even like making up silly nonsense words together and practicing writing those, anything that they find fun. And then camouflaging practice so it doesn't look like schoolwork, having them make birthday cards, writing letters, drawing and labeling maps, keeping a journal, writing to each other on Post-it notes. These are all ways to practice handwriting, but to make it fun. Okay. So the last part, she isn't particularly focused and often does other things while working online. We are out of time for now, but my next video will be specifically on what a lot of parents have talked to me about, which is multitasking during Zoom lessons. Okay, so here's a screenshot of our parent webpage. All of the resources I referred today and other longer videos are posted on this website. So check us out there, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.